All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. So the Las Vegas Raiders have made a couple of moves earlier today. They picked up Alexander Mattison from the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we did hear Tom Telesco say at the NFL Draft Combine that the Raiders would be looking into a committee by approach. We know Zamir White had a very impressive rookie season, 104 carries, 451 yards, averaging 4.34 yards per carry. We'll talk about Alexander Mattison in just a second here, but we cannot forget about the A+ Christian Wilkins pickup by Las Vegas to take over the defensive line. You got to win on both sides of the trenches. If you can win in the trenches, you can win football games, and more importantly, you can win playoff games. And then Gardner Minshew. Now the big question is Aidan O'Connell, is he the bridge quarterback for Aidan O'Connell? We've heard reports and rumors that the Raiders are still making moves to potentially trade up into the top 5. We're hearing that a rookie quarterback is not off of the table. But I do want to say, before Alexander Mattison even got picked up and Harrison Bryant, I really, really love Christian Wilkins. We talked about on this channel the last couple of days. Gardner Minshew, I think, is very underrated, even if he is just going to be our backup QB. Once again, whether it's going to be Aidan O'Connell, we all have our thoughts, our own opinions on Aidan O'Connell being QB1 for the Raiders next season. I think everyone would agree if he competes for it and wins it. I think everyone would be good with that route. But whether or not you think he's going to be it or he should be it or whatever, just having Gardner Minshew and having that locker room voice, having that locker room veteran, it is going to make a difference, and it is going to make a difference across the whole team, not only in the quarterback room and on the field. Gardner Minshew had a good season, by the way, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 62.2% completion percentage. I do think he'll just, if he is playing in the Raiders as QB1, it'll be efficient, it'll be effective. It's not going to be anything too crazy, but he will get the job done, and this Raiders team does have a good roster. So before we get any further into tonight's video, if you guys enjoy it, be sure to hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content along with daily Raiders videos. Raiders fans, thank you for all the love the last couple of days. If we could try and get this video to 250 likes, that would mean the absolute world to me. So Alexander Mattison had a very bad season last year, 16 games with the Minnesota Vikings. He only rushed for 700 yards on 180 carries. He actually didn't even have a single rushing touchdown. He can catch. He's a little bit of a dual threat. He is versatile. 30 catches for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. However, through his first 4 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings, he rushed for over 1,600 yards, 11 touchdowns in 59 games. He's also caught 70 catches for 526 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's been in the league for a bunch of seasons, but he's still entering the athletic prime of his career. And, we've been saying on this channel the last couple of days, because he did lose Josh Jacobs to the Green Bay Packers. And as much as I enjoyed Zamir White, 451 yards in his second year, 25 carries, 112 yards against Denver, 20 and 71 against Indy. Kind of, the defense was, the main reason that the Raiders took down Kansas City on Christmas Day. But Zamir White pretty much clinched it, especially on that final drive there. 22 carries, 145 rushing yards, averaging 6.6 yards per carry. And the Chargers game before that, where they put up a bunch of points, 17 carries, 69 yards, and a rushing touchdown. But, once again, I think Zamir White showed us enough to be running back 1 at least by committee. And I do think Alexander Mattison will benefit from having a change of scenery, being on a new offense with a new team. And just in general, we also have to keep in mind Kirk Cousins got injured like a month and a half into the regular season. So, Minnesota was kind of hanging on by a thread their entire, 75% of the rest of the season. Now, Alexander Mattison did average 4.6 yards per attempt through his first 2 seasons in the National Football League. However, since then, just 3.8 yards per carry in the last 3 seasons. But Las Vegas, don't take drafting a running back in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Do not take that off the table. It is not this quote unquote deep running back draft class by any means, but you can still find some value there. But either way, no matter who, if they do pick up a rookie running back or whatever, if it's just going to be Zamir White, Alexander Mattison, and Amir Abdullah, the Raiders do need help on the running game. They averaged 90.7 rushing yards last season. That was 3rd dead last in the National Football League. So, we've been saying it on this channel the last couple of days since free agency officially began. You're not seeing Las Vegas be all that they're not making any crazy moves. I mean, Christian Wilkins was a crazy move, but they're not like 10 free agents. They're not the Washington Commanders making like 12 moves in the first 2 days. They're not breaking the bank, spending record numbers in the first couple of days of free agency, because Vegas just has a good roster. They have a much more complete roster. And once again, their big time splash was Christian Wilkins. And, we've already been talking about it. We're going to continue to talk about it all offseason because it really was that big of a move. But Raiders going 8-9 last season. Obviously, don't have to tell this to Raiders fans, but just the fact that they were able to accomplish that feat and be in the playoff race for pretty much the entire regular season, all the way up until the final week against Denver, with Josh McDaniels and that nightmare of a situation that they went through, it is very impressive in my opinion. So we talked about a veteran running back coming on over, and by veteran, we're not talking 32, 33-year-old guys. Alexander Mattison, 25 years old, 26 years old, in the prime of his NFL or athletic career. So once again, I think the change of scenery is really going to benefit him. And at the end of the day, he's not coming into town to be the solidified running back one. If he was, I do understand some concerns there, but I do like Zamir White, and I think he had a huge last month of his second season in the National Football League. As far as more moves Vegas is going to make, they're probably just going to make more sneaker moves like this all the way up until the NFL draft. They do have a little below $30 million in cap space remaining. They do have some holes to fill on the offensive line. They do have some holes to fill in the cornerback room. So, I do anticipate a couple of guys, like veteran type of players to come in if need be. But I do think the Raiders are going to have a very interesting draft. But I do think it's going to be mainly based on the offensive line at the very least. So it might not be like the most fun, but we can't count out a quarterback in round one. Once again, no matter your thoughts on Aiden O'Connell, no matter your thoughts on why Gardner Minshew was brought into town, the Raiders are still rumored to be making calls to trade up into at least the top 10 of the NFL draft. They currently have the 13th pick in the first round. And, as we know, and as Tom Telesco, the new GM, knows, if you got a guy, if you know who your guy is, you got to trade up and you got to go get your guy. So it's going to be, and it has been, an interesting free agency for Las Vegas. But once again, I don't think anything too crazy is going to be coming about here. Their roster on paper, I still think looks really good. Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, got a fresh draft coming up. Michael Mayer, new offensive coordinator, and Luke Getsy. But yeah, no Justin Fields. Yeah, that always kind of seems like a long shot. But that's it for me. Hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content. Raiders fans, let me know what your thoughts are on the free agency thus far, as well as any NFL fan watching this video. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your night. We will see you next time. Peace.